Hi, it's me from the Welcome to Wonderland podcast. Are you looking for the perfect blend of nostalgia and patriotism in your wardrobe? Look no further than ZJZ Designs, available now at zjzdesigns.com. Their exclusive t-shirt collection features stunning designs like the iconic Plymouth Barracuda print, taking you back to the golden era of muscle cars. Show your love for your country with their bold patriotic heart designs that stand out and make a statement. From car enthusiast to proud patriot, ZJZ Designs has something special just for you. Head to ZJZ Designs and elevate your style. Visit zjzdesigns.com or check the show notes.
Barrett again from What the Pod Was That and the All About Nothing podcast for Everplay Sports and Social League. Fall registration is open now for a bunch of leagues, including Wednesday and Thursday kickball at B and M Avenues in West Columbia, Tuesday super recreational kickball at B Avenue in West Columbia, indoor volleyball on Mondays and Tuesdays at the Tri-City Leisure Center in West Columbia, softball on Sundays and Mondays at Pacific Park in Columbia, Tuesday 10-week bowling at Bolero in Casey, Wednesday soccer in West Columbia, pickleball on Mondays at the Casey Tennis and Fitness Center. Registration for all fall leagues is open through August 21st, except Tuesday bowling at Bolero. Registration is open through August 5th. Also, registration is now open for 3 to 4-person teams for the 8th Masters of Putt-Putt at Frankie's Fun Park on Friday, August 23rd. Sign up now as this event will sell out. Register by August 22nd. It's a lot of fun, and if you're in the Columbia area, you should definitely sign up now. So check out everplaysocial.com for details and registration. Everplay Sports and Social League. Play, socialize, and have fun.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
All right, everybody, welcome to another Afterthoughts with Bill. This is the episode that came after our last episode, which now that I'm thinking about it, we had the history. That's it. We had the History Man on, and also want to thank BroadStreet.net for getting us in contact with Eric Barnes of the History Man podcast. You want to definitely check it out. The comic books, you can online, you can see them. It's a really cool thing that he does. Retired police officer, retired detective, and just a unique avenue that he's decided that he's going to go down for after post work, start of retirement. So, but this Afterthoughts with Bill, want to welcome Bill back because he wasn't with us last night.
I'm sorry, I was very busy.
Bill's doing something important, which is something that I hope I never have to do again, but I know I will. Bill, what were you doing?
I was trying to move into my apartment, a new apartment. So got everything ready for that. Tomorrow I'll be staying in it. This is not my apartment. I'm at my sister's house, and I don't have my normal camera in case anybody asks, why does Bill look like he's been deep fried in a, I don't know.
All right.
Anyway.
Also welcome Zac King, my co-hostess with the mostest. I don't know if I said that right. Co-hostess. How do you identify, Zac?
It doesn't matter. Keep going.
All right. I also want to welcome a buddy of mine, Bradnon. He and I have played. We played softball. We played kickball together. We bowl together now. And I think for the conversation that we're going to try and engage in here, I wanted Brandon's perspective because he and another friend, JB, were actually the two individuals that enlightened me to this situation. So we'll talk about it in a second. And also, welcome back to the show, the director of the Jackson Teen Center in Camden, South Carolina, Mr. Brian Mays. Thank you, Brian, for being here. How are you?
That's right. That's what they say. Thank you for having me back. You just glad for punishment, huh?
I can't tell you how much fun we had, Uncle BB. Come on. It was a great time.
So you all did just have the event, the Gigi's Grind Out.
Right.
How did it go?
It was amazing. It was so packed in there. Gigi loved it. We were able to lower his jersey for the first time. He got so many awards. He got an award from Congressman Ralph Norman that it etched in the halls of Congress. So a lot of love. Like I told him when I talked to him, I said, you got some, you got a lot of people watching. You can't go out here and make some of the dumb rich boy mistakes because, you're standing in the shoes, you're standing in the gap for bullying. we had so many haircuts. I mean, we finished the last head, I think maybe 7:30ish.
Oh,
and
nice.
if you look on any news platform, I think they said that was one of the first times that every news crew showed up and they went live on ABC. So Gigi got a lot of love. It was a great day. Well, it was bittersweet because I'm out there working, and then I actually get a phone call from the Veterans Hospital that tell me that my dad didn't have but a little more time. So I had to work through that, so, and thank God he's still kind of holding on, but it was a good day. The kids I think we made our point, and everybody we had today, we probably had 200 students show up today at the teen center, and everybody was still looking amazing. So that was great.
That's awesome.
I saw a video of Gigi, Lamont Paris, and Carrie Rich. Did Lamont and Carrie come up there?
Lamont, you mean the coach?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were there. Some of Memphis player personnel, they were there. Everybody was there. So the USC, the whole media crew, they were all there. And, some of his former players, they played together. So it was like a big homecoming for him.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's so cool. And please, if anything comes up that you all want to promote, you've got my number. Just tell me. We'll throw you on. We'll talk about it. We'll get it scheduled because I want to continue to see just the success and build on that. Right. I think it's a really cool program.
Another thing that was happening is, USC, of course, Don Staley just recruited Joyce Edwards. And Joyce and Gigi are really close friends. So he didn't know it, but we got Joyce to remove the center court so he could see his new logo. And then on August the 13th, we're introducing Joyce. The Joyce Edwards training facility. So we're having another celebration, and she doesn't know it. We're trying to get Gigi to reveal her room for her. So it's one of the same.
That's cool. Well, I still want to try and get Gigi on the show because I mean, besides Marianne Williamson, that would be probably a bigger get. To be honest with you.
Right. Well, we're definitely gonna work on that. We only have a few more days. He had 30 days off, and he told me I got to do everything in 30 days, and he got to get back.
Oh yeah, I imagine so. All right. Well, so I wanted to have Bradnon and Brian join us because I think their opinion is extremely valid in the conversation we're going to talk about. And basically, I was enlightened recently to the fact after Kamala Harris came and now she is the potential likely nominee for the Democratic Party after Joe Biden resigned from the election, from his campaign. And Kamala Harris has exploded across many of the different, groupings as far as society here in the United States. And come to find out, Kamala Harris has not very low, but she has uniquely low compared to other groups support from the black male population. And it's not just younger black men, it's older black men. And I spoke with my neighbor Bernard across the street and Travis down the street, and they told me that while they support Kamala and they're excited about her in the race, both of their fathers and father-in-law said the same thing, that she doesn't represent them, that she's not, while she's there, they'll vote for her. It's not a certainty they'll go and vote. And I guess it wasn't something that I had ever given any consideration to, and it in my head, because we've had all but one president's, some rich old white guy. It's never been something I think that was just, the idea of my daughter seeing a woman potentially elected president. And then friends of mine, their daughters getting to see a black woman become president. And so it was odd to me to not hear that excitement. And Bradnon, not to throw you under the bus, but you were one of the individuals that informed me that there's a feeling there that she doesn't represent. And is that, am I right in that assessment?
Yeah. I think not to get too deep, but I know a lot of people that I associate with, hang out with, that look like me, kind of have that same sentiment. Um, I think for me, there's a there's a lot to unpack. It's not just I don't necessarily like her. There's a lot to unpack with what I feel like how she represents us. It's not just like a clear picture of, oh, hey, I just don't like you. I don't feel like there's nothing that you can do for me or my community. It's just more that, just with my research, there's more to it. But I would say that for the most part, everybody that I kind of associate with the exception of a few people, probably have those same reservations about her.
Yeah. Brian, in I guess in your opinion, what is it about Kamala Harris that excites you, or that pulls you away from her?
Well, I don't know that it's just a total of Kamala, but I think that, one thing that's happening with a lot of African American men now is that we're demanding more. We're demanding more to see what's happening. I went into a meeting. In fact, just yesterday, I'll tell you this story because it made me so mad. I'm walking into my building and some people are having a meeting, and this lady just, happened to be a African American woman, older woman, because they was having an alumni meeting. And she said, you better get out and vote for Kamala Harris, because if you don't do it, you're going to go back to slavery. And I said to her, well, that's your opinion. I'm trying to back away from the conversation because I don't like to have those conversations.
That's wild.
But she pushed me into a corner. And I had to tell her, I said, ma'am, let me explain something to you. You're in this building, this teen center here, for free, right? You're having your meeting. We don't charge you anything. At this time, I have the only senators that sponsored our bill to keep funding coming in happen to be Republican senators. Okay.
Yeah.
Senators. I'm sorry. And senators. But anyway, I said, so before you come to me and say that, I demand more. You can't I'm not a puppet. You're not going to get me excited with a movement just because everybody's running down the street and taking their clothes off. I want to know what you're going to do for our people as a movement. Black men, we work very hard. We had a podcast, live podcast at the center one time where the kids stood up and everybody was telling where they're going to college, their GPAs and this and that. And we're talking about how let's get, make sure that this narrative is out there versus what you see on the news, that kind of thing. So anyways, this was all Democrat. I need you to understand this. This meeting was total Democrat. And the chairman stands up and said, well, Brian, we brought you a certificate because you said we never done anything for you. I said, well, hold on. I said, I never said that. What I said was that you've never sponsored any of my bills. You come in here, you eat dinner with us. You see my kids, you see the scholars. We have 90% that goes to college and the military. And yet you will not sponsor my bill. But yet the Republicans, in this particular case, right, are sponsoring my bill. So my building is open. What I'm saying to you is that I, Brian Mays, I demand more. Because when I grew up, it was just hit the blue button. That was the end of the story. We didn't care what. I demand more. And if I don't see more, then no, I'm not going to sit here and just get excited because whether you say it's the first black man, black woman, the first alligator, the first monkey, I don't want to hear none of that. I'm too close to it. When I talked to you guys last, I was in D.C. I'm looking at policies and what. So I vote the person, not the party. So I think I want to do more research on what is it you're planning to do. The work with our issues, the education, it's a big gap in education. There's so many things. And I asked, I'm going to say this and I'll shut my mouth. When the lady was fussing at me, I asked her a question. I said, I'm going to ask you a question. And this should be for every Democrat. I said, do you hate Trump more than you love your family? And she looked. I don't understand questions like that. I said, I figured you didn't. So now I'm going to break it down to you. Do you hate Trump so much that you don't love your family enough that you want your family to continue to go in the grocery store with $100 bill and can't come out with one bag of groceries? Okay. Or do you want, so what I'm saying is I'm not trying to make you Republican or Democrat. I don't care nothing about what this guy is doing. What are you going to do to make individual lives better so that we can move forward as a country? You can't shake me with a movement. You can't do it. I'm just not that dude.
That's like, are you blinded by hate, or are you actually using your brain and thinking about who you were elected? I wanted to ask, what's the comparison when Obama ran for the first time? Was there a similar type of feeling about the first black candidate, much less the first, black woman, African American woman.
So I think for me, being that when he came on the scene, I was a bit younger, and at that time, I wasn't invested into like politics or like how the world moved. It was just an exciting time for me. I was just it was something
I get
different.
it.
I think now, and kind of to Brian's point is, and I think I spoke to you about this, Barrett. I think the difference now is that I know what I look for and how the world moves now. And the one thing, like demanding more and also like transparency. Like I don't know how she moves, what she does. Um, I know for me, just the one thing that I've noticed, even in this Biden Harris administration, there's been times where I know like other party or other populations have gotten things like
Right.
if there's been like bills for like for Asians or LGBT communities. I've never seen anything remotely close to anything that has like a priority stance for Black people.
Yeah, I can
And
see that.
I know she wasn't president at the time, but I know that's a part of that. She's a part of that ticket. And for
She's on the
me, just
cabinet.
looking like history in terms of the history, I've only seen Kamala's profile become boosted from you know Black people. Like other than that, I haven't
Yeah.
seen. I see she comes alive when there's that support. But other than that, I've never seen a instance where I can say, oh yeah, Kamala definitely did this, or she's been impactful for Black people. I've never seen
Well,
that.
well, and to your point, when she was the attorney general and she was a district attorney in the state of California, because she was in law for
Hmm.
20 years. Um, there was a lot of there. It seemed as though there was a lot of anti-support against her when she ran for Senate, because one of the things that she was very aggressive about was some of the drug crimes. So like, simple possession for marijuana. And here in the United States, basically black man gets arrested for possession of marijuana. It is almost a certainty that they're going to wind up doing hard time for that. And that's because, in my opinion, our judicial system is basically modern day slave catching.
Right.
Because you go into the corporate the federal prison system in the United States is all corporations, and they're basically using inmates now for some of the manufacturing jobs. They're teaching them how to do coding and phone support and things like that. So like literally we have people in prisons across the country that are working in call centers during the day, and they're not being paid for what it is they're doing.
Right. Yeah. And going back to, I want to piggyback on what he just said, we're talking about bills and whatnot. And I understand, where we are now, AI, people can chop up videos, but I saw a video just the other night where, that she did say that she's not interested in sponsoring a bill that's single for Black people. Okay. But there's been bills for other races,
Right.
that kind of thing. So, I mean, if anybody, I just got to get real with you. If anybody's been loyal to this country, we've been loyal to the country,
Yeah.
So, and I just sometimes feel like that I want to be done with the race part of it, but I want to reawaken the reality of it. You understand?
That's that's the best
so,
word.
so the reality of it is that we pay our taxes, and let's say we fall on some hard times, and it's easier for somebody else to get the support, but we've been paying into the system for years, so we have to be so I guess what I'm saying is that to get out of my personal feelings, I need to hear a little more of what it is because I'm older now. I'm probably the oldest one on this podcast. I'm 59 years old. So I got children and grandchildren that are coming up. So how in the world are we going to leave this place better?
Right.
We have to be very careful on laws that we're passing. I went to speak, and I'm just talking real politics now. I went to speak at a place. I won't name the place. And I said I have to use the restroom because I'm drinking water all the way up the road before I go on, because I didn't want to be up there speaking and I'm twitching like a little kid because I got to use the restroom. I go into place. It's it's got a picture of a man and a woman. I open the door. I'm thinking it's a single, but it's an open space. She said, "Oh no, our bathroom's for everybody." So now I'm thinking in my head, how do you stand on a situation where somebody you mean tell me a man can just say, yeah, I identify as a woman. He can go in the bathroom with my granddaughter. So I begin to look at stuff like that. You can't shake me with a movement. I'm sorry. You can't shake me because everybody's happy. I'm going to look and see how you vote on issues like that make the safety of our children, our grandchildren, and will it move this country forward? Or will you support people that push their message because of hate? And you say you stand with them and that kind of stuff. No, you can't rock me. I don't care if I'm the only one. You're not going to shake me with that. You got to come to me with some tangible policies. And because I hate Trump is not one. That doesn't work.
Well, and I think with both sides too, and you're exactly right. Like, not every Republican is so far right, like QAnon crazy people.
A majority of them aren't.
Most of the, Democrat wise, it's not the woke mob coming from you. It's what are the sensible things you're bringing to the table? How is it going to progress us people in general? And I'm right there with you. There's definitely there's that line, and I can't speak as I'm not an African American male, as you could probably tell. I don't know if you guys knew that, but
no, you want to don't try to hide it. Don't try to hide it. We already know.
This is the worst. This is the worst case of whiteface you've ever seen in your entire life. As well.
I'm the only guy here who played in a rap group for 5 years. All right, so
that's true.
Really? Okay, cool.
That's true.
Spit something right now.
Yeah. No, I played guitar and sang.
Oh, so that means you got soul. People that play guitar and bass,
I was going to give him the beat.
There might be two of us on this podcast that could potentially get MC Hammer on the show.
Really?
Potentially. Oh, me. I could potentially get
MC Hammer.
Can I piggyback on something you just said real quick about not everybody's so bad and not everybody's so good? So with the Gigi Jackson situation, Democrat Jermaine Johnson, he was here, a great friend of mine.
He's terrific.
Just mingled with the kids, stayed the whole day. I don't know why he kept the suit on the whole day because it was hot, but he stayed the whole day and he did an amazing job. Now,
BB, I've never seen him not in a suit. I've never seen him not in a suit.
So here on the other side is Senator Penry, who's a Republican, who made sure that our money stayed. She lost and made sure that our money stayed. For a senator that's 90% African American, here's a white senator, Republican, that made sure the money stayed in the budget so that we can continue to do the work. So it's definitely the person and not the party, and I can't just draw a line and say blue or red. I can't do it.
Well, and I have a question too. I mean, the whole thing too, don't you feel like there still is more of that cult following behind somebody like Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, who I feel like for the most part, a lot of people aren't jumping on a Harris train to just vote for a Democrat, but it's rather to support policies over Donald Trump stuff and then his association with Project 2025, even though he declines all this stuff about it. Don't you think that that's also has any influence as far as the presidential election goes?
I'm going to quit talking. I'm going to let you go first because, I'll jump into this thing and keep talking.
Nah, you're good. Could you, I was following, then I kind of got lost. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah. It's just because I hear what you're saying about voting for policy over the person, but in the case of presidential elections, such as this one with Donald Trump, who does seem to have way more of a strong cult following of people who are just voting for Donald Trump. It seems like a lot of people aren't even looking at his policies that are pretty far right versus Kamala Harris, who, to me, most Democrats that I talk to are mainly always talking about the policy at hand that they're voting for Kamala Harris. And I guess it's more of a statement, but do you think that has any sort of sway on a vote? Or
I'm gonna try and see if I can formulate this without rambling. I think because I talked to a lot of a lot of people that I associate with weekly, daily, sometimes, about like, the whole political landscape right now. I feel like, and let me know if this answers your question. I feel like for instance, a lot of my friends or a lot of people that I associate with, they look at Democrats because I think what you get with Trump, somebody like Trump, what you're getting with them. You know what I'm saying? It's evident and it's clear as day. I think the pressure when people try to think about politics with Democrats is because as people that lean more to that side, they expect more. They expect to have like that transparency. They expect to say, okay, listen, if you want us to support you, we need to know what's here. We need to know what we're getting into. People know from history what media is feeding. They know what they're getting with Trump. And I actually have quite a few of my friends that are gun ho on voting for Trump. Because for whatever reason they think, oh, he can stimulate the economy. They can, well, of course, some of it's without research. They just know like, hey, at a certain point during the time when he was here, I had more money in my pocket. They don't understand like kind of how that came about. But I say that to say, I think where people kind of focus on like, hey, I need to know what the politics or what you stand for or what are we getting out of this is because for me, I just don't know sometimes I don't even know where she lays within the lines. Like, is she more left? Is she more centered? You don't know what you're getting. So I just think that people they know the history with Trump. They know what they're getting. They know like at the end of the day, he's going to be him. I think Kamala still has to, it's not my place to say, but I still think she has to establish an identity. I didn't know Kamala. I didn't know her. Like, of course, I knew minimal research about like her time as the district attorney or whatever. But before 2020, I've never, and I know the media, that there's a story about the media feeding into this, but I kind of think it's true. I've never heard her really, one, go hard for black people and also really embrace her being black. I feel like with people now, it's like, I'm gonna bring, like the other day, I'm gonna bring Meg Thee Stallion because I know, hey, she's popping in culture right now. Forget what I'm about to talk about. I'm just gonna bring this crowd because she's what everybody wants. She's what everybody wants to see. They want to see like what's going on now, presently, and what's popular. So I think Kamala right now, she doesn't. I don't know her true identity right now. And people know, for better or for worse, they know what Trump stands for. You know what you're getting out of that.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's how my brain works with that type of questioning.
I still don't think that at the end of the day you know what you're going to get from Trump. Right. Like even when
no, that's true. That's true. Brian, go ahead.
Definitely not this time because it's so much that's happened. So there's probably going to be some get back in there. You know how it works. But I want to tell you really quickly the men that I kind of that's in my circle, the African American men. I can't think of the name of the senators, but you can look this video up on TV. And these are two sitting senators or congressmen. And they were saying they had this meeting and it was a Taliban leader was at the meeting. And Trump said, hey, I want to get out of Afghanistan, but I want to get out condition based. And he said, I don't want you to harm a hair on any American. And he said, if you do, now this is according to them, they're telling this, story. He said, I will kill you. And he looked at the translator and said, tell him what I said. And the translator told him, and they said Trump reached in his pocket and pulled out a map of the guy's house and said, this is where you live, handed it to him and got up and walked out. Okay, this is kind of the thing. If you're on the playground and you're young, and we had a talk about this last time I was on the show about the bully, you're not going to go home and get the soft person. If you need some help, you're going to go and get somebody that can get something done. We're living with a lot of men that I talk to. We're living in a world where we got some crazy folk leading other countries who forget black and white. They just hate you because you're American, period. Yeah. And they need somebody that'll stand there and stand Putin toe to toe, Kim Jong-un or whatever. And Trump doesn't seem to be afraid of them. I don't know where Miss Kamala stands at that. But you cannot answer the question with, what are you going to tell Iran about jumping into war? The answer was what? Don't. That doesn't work with a bully. It doesn't work. So my question is, well, my answer to your question is, I see a lot of men saying, hey, dude, this joke is half crazy, but guess what? He'll go crazy for the country too. So I don't know if that's the answer, but I'm just telling you that's a thought process of some people.
You definitely want someone staunch, but Brian, this is the same guy who drew over a NORAD map for the hurricane with a Sharpie and said we should nuke it. Is that a viable option?
I agree with all of that. I'm not here to defend him. I'm just telling you, in a world that we're living in, you know, if I'm going to throw out a stinking Pamper with boo boo in it, I'm not going to replace it with a Pamper with strong urine in it. I'm just saying.
I get it.
The question is that what I'm gonna put it this way. I'm making a deal with you now. Look, man, I got this stuff I want to sell. I want you to buy it. This is the amount of money I want from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what I have to separate you from your money. We want to know what we're going to get out of the deal. And he just said, we know kind of what you're going to get from Trump. We know the good and the bad. So I'm not going to defend any of that. We're not saying it's good or bad. We're saying we know what we're going to get. But in the other case, we just don't know. We don't know where she stands on stuff.
I think for me, I think I understand a little bit better because, for one, even in just the readings that I did today, one of the things that I learned was I think I may have said it already, but of all of the races and genders, you know, that combination, black men, the working, they called it the working poor black men, or the working class black men. That is that makes up the majority of black men as a population in this country. And I think one of the things that I'm hearing out of this is that it's not a bad thing that black men in this country are now scrutinizing who it is that they want to represent, or who it is that they want in office to potentially bring about that change. Because it feels like there must have been a shift at some point. If I'm trying to be as observant as possible, it sounds like at some point there was a shift where black men said, we're not gonna do this anymore. We're continuing to put support into a political group that is essentially not coming back and saying, you know, you elected me. Now I need to make sure that I show that I want this class to continue to thrive, to begin to thrive, really, in the United States. Because let's be honest, the regardless of what people think, the truth is that it is difficult to be a black owned business in this country. If you see a few CEOs out there, but you know, I hear we're hearing the same thing about Kamala right now. But I've heard, when I worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield, we literally hired a former astronaut. But the headline when they told us was that here is this new director or vice president of such and such. He's an African American astronaut, or like he was a former astronaut. But it's like we'll give somebody a job as a CEO who's never been over an insurance company before, but they only did it because of his race, and you know. But okay. So the point I'm trying to make, you see occasional higher up management, but then you look at they're not. It's not, the black owned businesses in this country have such a difficult time because you know, if it's a restaurant, I think we've talked about this before, but like a black owned restaurant sometimes doesn't have access to the same level of purchasing power, and the prices will be higher.
Right.
And that black-owned restaurant or that black-owned market needs more support from the community and consideration for the fact that they can't buy at high volumes like some other places. Right. But I think it's actually it feels more like a relief to know that this is that black men in this country are recognizing that their responsibility isn't just to a party that and I'll be honest, Democratic Party promises a bunch of stuff but doesn't deliver.
Absolutely.
Well, that's true.
Oh yeah.
And I have to tell you guys, I have to jump off. Daddy duty is calling, so I apologize. I have to jump off a little early.
Yeah. Well, let me piggyback on what you're saying.
Zach.
Again, I'm the oldest. I'm probably the oldest here. Definitely the oldest looking, but I'm probably the oldest one here. So, growing up, when I said this we allowed the Democratic Party to have a meeting at our office here about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And when I said to the guy, he acted like he didn't understand it. I said, my kids said that if you can't come on an uneven year, they don't want people to come on an even year. And he said he couldn't understand. I said, well, case in point, what is tomorrow? He said, well, it's the primaries, and you're here, and you haven't been here in 4 years. So in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it was almost guaranteed that a black man was going to pull the blue handle. It was almost guaranteed. And in my opinion, Brian's opinion, I think you took that for granted. And just because now that we're asking questions and we're demanding more, you want to say, well, how could you vote for that guy? He's hateful. He's this and that. We're not talking about Trump. We're asking you, what are you going to do about our issues and some policies? And then you get offended when we ask the question. And I've been said that black should be more than just a one-party person, because I think we get ignored on a lot of stuff. So my question is that don't talk to us about Trump. Give us your resume, what you're going to stand on that's going to help us move us. We're not looking for a handout. Not doing that. But don't stand in our way when we deserve something. So that's the only thing I'm saying. So if your only argument to me is that, how dare you vote for him? He's racist. He's this, he's that. I'll give you another one. He might spend the next 4 years getting back at everybody who done him wrong. I'll give you all of that, but it doesn't work with me. I need you to tell me what you're going to do. And if you can't tell me that, then I'm going to have some issues on how I vote.
Well, Brian,
I'm a follow
you're
up.
not alone with that.
I'm going to follow up with that. Because I think, to your point, I think the reason why they talk about, why he's racist and things like that is because if you look at the resume it doesn't have a lot on it. Like I think the focus is because just simply, if you look at her, I'm guessing, if you look at her resume or Democrats' resume, to your point, Barrett, their promises have been made or things have been said. They've never been accomplished. They've never been completed. And, to my point, what I believe, I don't think there's ever been anything that she can actually say on her resume what she's done for black people or accomplishment that she's done for the betterment of black people. I think it's missing. I think it's and I think the only thing they can talk about.
I'm sorry, I just want to piggyback with you.
No,
or just make the playing field level. You ain't got to just necessarily do for us. We know how to do for ourselves. Just let the playing field be, make the playing field level. And that's what, that's all we're asking for. And people, it's almost like you think we're freaking puppets because we're asking questions. Now people are mad at us because I walked in to vote in 2020 and I walked through the door. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I'm black. And I walked in the door because I was voting early. And me and my wife didn't get in the door. Good. And the lady said, now, if you're voting straight Democrat, all you got to do is smash this button. I said, well, who told you I was doing that?
Yeah.
Who told you?
And that's happened to me before, too.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? So they think it's for granted. So, me and brother right here, we might be the only two, but you ain't going to shock us with just because you running down the street and taking your clothes off and throwing it out and you got some rap star or this and that and whatever, like a situation. I won't call this artist's name, but he has a real popular record out. It's a black artist. And he made a comment that we shouldn't complain about the economy. It's not so bad to pay $25 for a burger and fries. Dude, you're a billionaire. It's definitely not a problem for you. But mama that's been working all week long, and she can't get one burger and fries. She's got to get 3 or 4, So don't tell me that's not a problem. So you can't ask the question to a very rich person, you got to think about it too. Who's your savior? You can't put Martin Luther King on stage and something like that. That's one thing. But you can't go and throw a rap star on stage for me. And I'm supposed to go and just start, let's vote. No. What are you talking about? So you can rally. It's not going to be as big as Obama, but there's a movement going on. I still need some questions answered.
Yeah.
That's so fair. That's such a great way of framing it too. I would have never thought. I would have never thought.
And I'm the dude that's been here inside of a blue place, but yet my wife and I are probably $100,000 or more in debt that we're going in our pocket. We just started raising money in that center, and I've seen some of the others on that side. Like I said, Senator Penry and Congressman Ralph Norman were the only two that took this movement seriously. We were talking about a movement of making a conversation, how to teach our young men how to interact with police officers so you don't do the wrong thing, because we talk differently. You see my hands now. We don't mean nothing by it. That's how we express ourselves. But you do that at night, police officer could cost you your life. Look at the young lady the other day, a pot of water. She's gone. She's gone forever. And you would not get behind this, but here comes two Republicans that saw value in it and said, Brian, we'll sponsor that bill. So when I look at stuff like that, I'd rather you talk to me about the person. Don't tell me nothing about, somebody asked me that the other day. You're going to tell me you don't think Trump racist? I said, I don't care. He ain't coming to my house to eat. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I want to talk about policies. Okay? And like we said, when I asked that lady, do you hate Trump more than you love your family? I love my family and I want my family. Now, gas is down now, but groceries are still way up in the air. Yeah. You go in the store with $100 bill, you can hear the cash registers laughing at you when you walk in. He got but $100. They talking to each other. He ain't got no money. I mean, it's just crazy. So somebody needs to answer that question for my sisters, the single mothers, the working, as you say, the working poor, the working black man that's giving it his all every week. And he comes in and he can't make ends meet because the money, the inflation keeps going here and the check is staying here. And you're going to tell him he needs to jump to a movement because somebody jumped on stage and told him to vote for it? No, he's got a question. He's got a question.
And I'm gonna add to that really quick because when you was talking about Sonya, the lady that passed away or was killed, let me say that. One thing, and this isn't kind of Kamala, but it wasn't her presidency. I remember Biden, and this is where I have a certain level of, I wouldn't say hatred, but I have some indifference with Democrats because I remember clear as day Biden saying, you're not black if you don't vote for me, right?
Right.
And I remember Biden with the straight face signed a executive order for a hate crime for Asians. You know what I'm saying? To protect Asians.
Right. Yeah.
But still won't make lynching illegal in the United States.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like, how
completely valid.
When you say things like you're not black, but then you have an opportunity, lynching should be a hate crime. We all know that. I mean, anybody with sense should know that lynching should be a hate crime. But you go and sign a bill or executive order allowing, making sure there's no hate crimes against Asians. Like that doesn't sit right with my soul. It just doesn't.
No, you're right. No,
and
you're right.
And you got to go deep. Where did you stand when this first was the integration of schools? You should look up those records. I'll let you read for yourself. There were some things that were not so nice there. Now, God can change anybody's heart. But if you felt that way then, and then still today you won't sign an executive order against lynching, it makes me think you're still there. So don't try to shake us. Because, let me put it this way. You're lucky that the only thing in front of you was a microphone, because you can't tell a black man to his face, you ain't black if you don't do nothing. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. You wouldn't have heard nothing else. It'd have been boom. I'm telling you, that's just, you can't tell us that. We're black every day. We live the experience. We go through the struggles, we live this, so don't ever tell a man that he ain't black if he don't do something, So I was very offended and still offended at that comment. So, whereas I do like some things that he did, but that's not one. And you reminded me with that Asian that I was very offended of that. You won't even talk about making this illegal, which is one of the darkest parts of this country.
Yeah.
Pictures. It's a book. What's the name of that book? I just ordered it. I teach it in my African American Studies class. It'll come to me probably as soon as I finish with all of those pictures. On one of them is showing how it would take the man, his whole family, and you sit there alive and turn them on the barbecue burning them alive.
Wow.
And you want to tell me then that none of that makes me black? The only thing makes me black is if I vote for you. We're past that. We're done.
Yeah.
We're not saying, and I can agree. I can speak for both of us. We're not saying that we're not going to support her. We're saying, number one, we need to know more, and number two, don't come up with us with that kindergarten stuff just because we're black and you're whatever, that we're supposed to jump on that train. And people are mad at black men because we're demanding answers.
Well,
it's like
you've explained you've explained yourself, and I have genuinely I have a lot more respect for that opinion because, ultimately because mostly every president that we've had looked like me. I've taken that's something I've taken for granted. It's not necessarily that I looked for the president to look like me, but it's always been the case. And so it's a perspective that I hadn't ever really taken any consideration into because I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia is very Democratic. Atlanta, Georgia is also very black, and Decatur, and where I grew up. So I was always around. My family's been very politically active my entire life, and we were always around. We knew we knew, or at least knew how to get people like Andrew Jackson, and so just to have that link and to always see strong black men in Atlanta that were always part of the Democratic Party. It was always built into me that was just sort of an assumption that there had to have been some sort of reason, but it doesn't seem like Democrats or at least individuals in the Democratic Party have really set themselves ahead of how, look, this is where Democrats, or this is where a candidate needs to at least show what they're going to do. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get it done, but at least put forth that fight. Yeah. And I think I agree. It's important to know these things, and I'm proud of the fact that black men are starting to question it, or that are questioning it more openly, because and you don't need me to be proud, but it's important because that's one of the things. I don't vote. I don't necessarily just vote on party lines. I vote for the candidate that, one, is going to be the most accessible to me, because I have representatives here that I have their cell phone numbers and I can get a hold of if I have a question about something. We literally got a mailer in our yard from Lexington County one day saying that we needed to make sure that access from the edge of the street into our yard was clear 15 feet beside your mailbox, meaning they wanted people to push back their shrubbery. I called Katrina Shealy and I left a message for her. She called me back and I said, I don't understand this mailer. Can you explain it to me, or do you know? She called me back and told me. Now, that could be white privilege too. But one is accessibility. Two is show that you are working for me because I put you there.
Right.
Even if it was just a tiny percentage of me put you there, I put forth the effort, you put forth the effort. And clearly that's not something that black men as a section of our society have gotten.
Yeah. And don't just take my call during an election year.
Yeah.
Ignore me for 4 years and then all of a sudden, hey, buddy. No, ain't no buddy. No. And just because we're only asking questions that every other race does. Every other race does. You think that somebody knocked on the door with the Asian, right? I'm not calling them out. I'm just saying for the Asian bill to be passed. Somebody knocked on the door. I think our question is, how long do we have to knock on the door? So now all of a sudden you got, and it's a big movement too, of black men running to the Republican Party. So all of a sudden these black men who used to always vote Democrat, now that there's a chance that some of them are leaving, and so you want to throw the race card, because that's the thing that gets us all up in a roar, is the race card, because we've experienced so much. So now you want to throw that. You better to come back to me with some answers. Say, hold up, no, on this policy right here, this is going to hurt the next generation. That's how you get my attention. You can't get I keep saying you can't get us. Why are you mad, bro? Ain't that what the kids say? Why are you mad, bro? Because we're asking questions.
Yeah.
It also seems like just with this two-party, the entire conversation keeps going back Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. It just continues to sound more and more, like as I've heard y'all speak, that it's almost this instilled, like almost like an idea of segregation within these two parties, whereas if we just broke the parties and just focused on policy, we could get more done. I mean,
Policy in person, that would be a beautiful society.
I agree.
Let that man or woman run off their own merits, no blue, no red. You're just a person running for a particular office, standing for a particular set of principles, and then let us decide who we want to vote for. So I don't know. I wish I could. I'm not going to go on a campaign and try to tell black men how to think, but what I will tell you is that you should not let nobody else think for you. To tell you that if you don't vote, you can tell me all of the one of the most horrific times I had. I was a singer, and I was down at Myrtle Beach. I finally got a vacation, and I had I was the rebel. Okay, they told me you don't leave your hotel without your bodyguard. Blah blah blah. No, that's not me. I told them I was going to the restroom. I just wanted to walk the beach, and you may have to bleep me, but I'm just going to tell you what was said. Next thing I know it, there's 4 white guys in the truck. Yeah, you can hear the click. And the guy said, we don't allow no niggas on the beach after 8:00. Now I'm standing flat foot. I'm done. There's nothing I can do. And then I see my bodyguards running down, and I was like, oh, y'all in trouble now. It's going to be, So the point I'm making is I can still remember that story that happened 30 years ago. And out of all of that, being pulled over, Myers Park, I never knew that till I read the history of Myers Park in Charlotte, that it was illegal for a black person to have land there. We used to get stopped there all the time. Y'all need to take Independence Boulevard. So I done went through all of that. And you telling me the only thing to qualify me to be black is that I vote for you. None of that other stuff matter. So that don't do nothing but offend me when you say that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think what it doesn't do it justice, but when I look like me, I'm somewhat still fairly young. So I didn't grow up in a generation of like the 80s. But when I think about, I think why, black men are speaking up, why are we getting to this place of, and this might be going off on a tangent, so pull me back in if y'all need to, but when I start looking back over the history and I look at, how black men, some black men struggle to do things. And a lot of times when you look back over the history of like how this country has done black men, I'm not even just talking about like during segregation times. I mean like 80s when, the streets were flooded with, maybe crack cocaine or marijuana. Right. And, if someone white could go to school or whatever, and black people could not afford it, they would take up trades. And, at a certain point, once people caught on, it's like, oh, you need to be certified to be an electrician or a plumber or whatever the case is. And then you take that away. And so now if a black guy cannot provide, they have to do what they can for families. And so for instance, if you're telling me you go to jail for selling weed, and now that you take away, or if they're a convicted felon, they can't get any assistance, can't go to school, can't do all of these things. And so it's like a cycle that keeps being broken down from generation. And I feel like when you take away a black person's right, when you take away their ability to provide, you put them in a place of they have to be on the defensive a lot. And now it's a point of the way with everything that's thrown at us as black people, and then, inflation, economy, just everything. It's like, just to keep your head above water, you have to figure something else out, and I feel like with this move with Kamala, like the whole big thing was, oh, if Kamala isn't the presumptive nominee, like that's going to take away the black woman's vote. Like that's just a segment that needs to be heard. Like we've always felt like we've been overlooked, and that's very true. But it's almost like a slap in the face to black men where, this has been going on for years, where they've been literally the most disrespected, or we've been the most disrespected. I'm saying they because I didn't grow up in that generation. But when you look at
It
it
still
as,
goes on.
yeah, I mean, it's, it does. It's just like me looking like retroactively going back and just researching. It definitely goes on now. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I've never seen a time where Democrats have been like, hey, you know what? Let's focus and see what black men need. Let's see what they need from us. What can we do? Because to your point, Mr. Bryan, it's like, we're just going to assume that, black people, we're I mean, Democrats, we're on the right side of things, if they would say morally or whatever. So we just know you're gonna vote for us. That can't be the case, and you need to target me differently. You need to let me know, like, hey, what are you going to do for me? Because at this point, I'm not saying I'm going to vote for Trump, but I still want to know, like, what am I getting out of this? What is the purpose of me voting for you? All you can say is, okay, well, because he's racist. But I mean, my thing is, how do I know you're not? Well, I mean,
absolutely.
How do I not know that you don't feel the same type? You have these same mechanisms, these same thoughts.
You're just pandering to me.
And you just hit a very important point that black people are looking at. So you're talking about the 80s. We saw the crack epidemic, and the answer to that was what? Throw them in jail. And then now you look at the opioid crisis, would affect it. Somebody tried to throw that at me the other day. Well, it affects blacks too. Yeah, dummy, I know that. But what I'm saying is that this is starting to affect whites too.
Yep.
And they're saying, hold on, let's get some money. This is a problem,
Right.
And then even to the point that when Clinton, the 3 strikes you're out, and you got mothers that are in jail, you're in there for life for marijuana.
Yep.
And now in most of those states, marijuana is legal.
Yeah,
we see that stuff.
Just some of the issues that I read about that there is a coalition of black men that are trying to get as much attention as possible, and there was basically a list of some of the things that could be done and should be done in order to earn that this population's support back, or whether it's a Democrat or Republican. But so the biggest one was family court reform, because the divorce rate in the United States is now over 50%. So you are more likely to get married and get divorced than you are to stay married for the rest of the entirety of your life. Right. And in the family court system, there is no group. According to statistics, there is no group that gets involved in the family court system worse off than black men in cases of divorce and paternity, having to pay child support and things like that. The judicial system, as far as criminal justice reform, was number 2, and these are things that it's like you were talking about the opioid pandemic. These are things that would greatly benefit the black population, but they also benefit everyone else.
Everybody.
Things like and it's almost like well, if we fix the criminal justice system, then who are we going to have populating our jails in order to do the slave labor? So it's and neither part. Democrats talk about justice reform. We had 2 years. We had criminal justice reform. We had 2 years where Biden had the Senate and the House. And honestly, in my opinion, if Biden, everybody keeps talking about, Biden. The fact that Biden stepped down means that he could potentially be one of the top 5 presidents of all time because of the things that he got done during his tenure. And I won't take anything away from that. But he didn't. There are powers that he has using the executive pen that criminal justice reform is something, it's complex, but it could be done as an executive order. And then when he's no longer president, let the fucking courts handle that.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Yep.
Right.
Legalization and decriminalization of marijuana in the United States. He could sign an executive order right now eliminating marijuana from the Schedule I narcotics list and decriminalize it, and any non-violent offenders, let them out of jail and reimburse them for the time they were out. And that gets into the whole idea of paying black people, which I don't have any issue with. We have our budget here in the United States is what, $6-7 trillion a year.
Yep.
And we're spending almost $1 trillion on our military, and not even in the way that I think we should be spending on our military. My opinion is there should be more money going to the VA system, because
or universal health care for everyone. I mean, just all around to help everyone.
Right. Well, another thing too that I think people get mad at us, and I won't call this restaurant because it's in your old neck of the woods in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a real popular restaurant, and we couldn't wait to get there.
Finnegan's.
And no, it wasn't that. But the first piece of food that I tasted, I think they had some kind of, I won't say what they had because then you'll start figuring the restaurant out. But it was very nasty. It was very nasty. Okay, so I moved that piece of food away, and I tried something else. And guess what? It was very nasty as well. Both of those pieces of food were nasty. Okay, you can't. I'm not saying both of these candidates are bad, but you can't go to us no more and say, well, at least we're not that bad, whatever. No, we just got some questions. It could be everybody's bad. It could be just not a good set of choices. I'm not saying that is the case, but I think a lot of people, and like I said, this lady that was attacking me was an African-American woman, and she acted like I broke the law because I didn't just say, yes, Trump is racist, and I'm voting for Kamala. And and it was a problem with her, So if because of the cake, if you eat a piece of cake, that was one of the nasty articles, pieces staying on my plate. You can't just go in there and scrape off the icing and then say, okay, here, now try it. No, you're gonna have to rebake that whole cake. And we're just asking for. I mean, think about what we talked about. And I'm sure if we talk longer, we would talk about some other thing. Opioids. We're talking about prison reform, the family court system. You can unravel a lot of stuff. And all we're asking you to do is sit down and talk to us. We're not going to argue with you. We talk with our hands and stuff. We ain't going to do nothing. We just want to talk. We want to express to you the hurt that we felt.
That's how Brandon knows. Brandon thinks I'm black. And that's how he knows. That's how you know, because I talk with my hands all the time.
Look at that. Yeah. And you don't mean anything. You just kind of basically
you just animated sometimes when you, especially if you're passionate about things. See, like me, I like politics. I'm probably not as detailed when it comes to certain things like Barrett, but I have a fondness for politics, and you can get passionate about things that, especially if you like have an opinion about something or you got a lot of research, and it's just mannerisms, you just expressing your passion for it. But I also want to to a point, something that I feel like this is because somebody made a good point about military spending. And don't get me wrong. I understand, why we want to keep peace in certain countries and do certain things. And I'm not saying, black people ever getting reparations is going to be something that probably never happens. Or if it does, I'll probably never be allowed to see it. But what I look at is we have so many different issues going on in our country, in the president's backyard. And I feel like the amount of money that we send overseas, or just for whatever, whatever we're funding, I can't get into the specifics, but what I look at, we're making sure we're helping other countries, and in our backyard, there's all types of issues that we have going on. And I'm not saying all of that money has to go to black people specifically, but
no, I understand
anything that can benefit people as a whole, and we can be a part of that. As you said, a level playing field. It can be level for everyone. I just feel like I don't understand why certain things have to happen the way they do, or we feel like, we don't have funding, or that can't happen. Or one of the biggest things is like, a lot of people that are unfortunate, or that unfortunately have like a lot of debt, student loan debt. Like, what is if one of your promises is, hey, I want to resolve student debt for people so I can make life easier for you people. But, you're almost out of the office, out of the door, and for the most part, a lot of people that I don't know hadn't seen any result with their student loans. But you're asking them to go vote or do this when someone else in Ukraine or whatever is getting money. And then I just found out the other day that they're getting an additional $2 billion because of an accounting error that they didn't catch. So they were supposed to get more. And to me, it's like, okay, we have all these issues. There's things that could help us, inflation, whatever the case is. I mean, just simply the American dream, buying homes, all the stuff that, that we Americans pride ourselves on, it's unattainable right now.
Right.
And I know those aren't like the basic human rights that we crave and desire, but it's just, it all comes into one big
builds and
puzzle.
builds
like,
and builds.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. And then you could say, well, this happened before, but we're talking about now. We're talking about, like, in this movement, we're talking about everything that you're doing. How can you make it better for everyone and include us as Black men and women?
Right. Well, one of the things, if you get in your car every day to go to work and there's homeless people laying in your yard, whatever the case may be, how long are you going to get up and go to work before you at least start asking questions? Man, what are you doing here? Whatever, your heart desire. Why did I say that? I was in D.C. when I talked to you guys last. Less than 3 blocks, my hotel from the White House, walking distance. And when we took the kids out and we just walked to a restaurant, homeless people laying down everywhere, right? And this is in your front yard, right? So then I begin to ask the question. I still have a problem. I really want to understand why we're sending so much money to Iran. I just can't. Maybe y'all can help me with that. But I'm looking at them as some of the stuff they're doing. I mean, I just don't get that. So my question to you, I would ask the 3 gentlemen on this: how long would you bag out your driveway every day before you at least look? I'm not talking about all of the world. I'm talking about in your front yard.
Oh,
and homeless people laying there.
It wouldn't even take once.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I
It
look
wouldn't
at
even
these
take
people
once.
laying in the White House. So my question to you is this. Let's go back to what you said. All the other stuff, everything. And I'm a firm believer too. I understand you got to have policy and all that, but I just believe if I take care of my own home, if we take care of ourselves a lot better, we can do a lot better. So my question is that before I write this, however many billions of dollar check to Iran or somebody else and say for humanitarian services, how long I got to bag that or get in the helicopter or with the motorcade? How many times I got to look at them before I say that we got a humanitarian crisis here that I need to address before I go address somebody else's problem? That's just me again. I had that problem. I mean, I stopped. I literally stopped. I gave the guy some money. I stopped and I prayed with him. And I saw so much mental health out there. One guy was just out in the street screaming, "Let my people go. And I'm looking at all of this and I'm like, this is in your front. And that's just not Biden. That's everybody else that's been in there.
Right.
Trump, Obama. I'm calling all of them out. How long does that have to be in your face before somebody says, hold on, wait a minute, before you write another check over there, have we taken care of all these Americans first? Because when you give charity, you don't give them your mortgage money. You give them what's kind of left over. You got some money left over. You help us. When are we going to start looking at life like that? When is it going to be so concerning that we're concerned about everybody else? And that's not Black people. That's my white brothers, my white sisters.
Yeah.
That's every American should be putting it on the table. What are you doing for America before you do it for somebody else? And then because we're asking those questions, I like, he's died. And that was an old pastor. His name was Dr. Fred Price. And he would always say, did I offend you? Why are you offended? Because, this man want to know about the opioid crisis, or this man want to know about homelessness or prison reform or family reform. We were talking about this guy who got behind. He loved his kids so much, right? And he got behind in child support. He didn't go down and get a reduction. He lost his big time job, had to work at McDonald's, took everything he had, trying to keep up with child support, got behind. You put him in jail, right? He's not out here killing and whatever. He just got behind. You didn't even talk to him about it. How can we work this out?
Yeah.
Now you stick him in jail till he can pay, like a debtor's prison in the Bible.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And who does that affect most? And now he's got a record, and then now, as you said, now he can't participate in the reindeer games.
Yep.
So it's like, just because we're asking questions, we don't hate you. We just want an answer.
Yeah.
I just want an answer, as to, are these issues important to you? And I think I can speak for what we're saying here now. We don't know the answers to that question. I can research everything I can when we get off of this podcast. I probably still wouldn't know where she stood on any of the issues that we talked about tonight.
Right.
Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right.
I'll challenge the panel. Somebody give me anything we've talked about tonight. Tell me where she stands on it so that I can understand better. Because I'm a good listener. God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth. I'm supposed to listen twice as much as I talk. I know that doesn't work all the time with me, but still, I listen. Tell me where, you can show me a bill and tell me where she stood on that,
right,
and probably change my mind tonight. But I've yet to get that answer.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
As far as looking at her tenure in the Senate, I could certainly find that. I potentially am going to be disappointed, because I think that when it comes to our representatives, even if they have the best intentions in mind, even if they get elected to an office with all the hopes and dreams of curing everyone's problems, I feel like a lot of them get corrupted, and that's they forget about what it took to get them to the point that they're at, and they leave behind the people that they said they were going to defend. I'm not saying they all do it. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris did do it. I'm just acknowledging that there's a better likelihood than not that that's what's happened again.
Heck, you know what? Let me say this real quick before you say it.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say, I'd like to send her a message to come on the show, because I can get through to this guy. Hey, why don't you just come on the show and answer? It's just
that'd be awesome.
Come on the show and answer. And we got, we're not going to jump on you. You're going to see our hands, but we don't mean nothing by it. But just answer the question. I'm sorry, brother, to cut you off.
You're good. You're good. Barrett made me think about something when he was saying, think about people that you left behind. Because I remember, again, 2008, fairly young, definitely teenager running around outside, definitely wasn't invested in politics like I should have been. Didn't have a care in the world for that. But something that caught my eye that really, really was profound for me was, I remember I was watching CNN one day, and I remember I just happened to tune in. It was late at night, and I seen a panel of like maybe 4 or 5 black mothers from Chicago. Yeah. And they were, I think it was, no, this probably was 2012, 26, whatever. No, it's probably, I'm sorry, I was in school when this happened. It was going into the 2016 election, I think, or like maybe 2014, 2015, somewhere in that time. And a lot of people were saying that, they weren't, a lot of mothers, black mothers in Chicago were saying they weren't voting for Hillary, that they were giving their vote to Trump, regardless of what he stood for. And I found it curious. Again, me being naive, me being young, not really thinking about things. But, I'm not necessarily from a big inner city. But, promises were made about, the rampant gun violence in Chicago. And I didn't realize the effect that it had on, because the CNN picked a panel of mothers that had lost a child to gun violence. Yeah. And their idea is, all of these things that happen, if there's gun violence in a predominantly like white place or mass shooting, it's like crazy news, and there's all this talk about gun reform and
100% of the attention.
And they felt like, Obama, being that he's from Chicago, feel like he didn't do anything. Now, at the time, I wasn't vested into what he was doing. I don't know if his hands were tied a lot in certain things, but people in Chicago felt they didn't, they didn't have fair representation from somebody that they boosted up into the highest office in the land. And that trickled down to other inner cities saying, you know what, our hope is that Democrats will come in and say, hey, listen, we need help in these inner cities. And I'm not just talking about gun violence, every other thing that really affects inner cities. And they don't get that. And so it comes back to the point of, we put you in these offices, you get there, you have good intentions, and then somewhere along the lines you get corrupted, you forget about us, and we were the ones that suffer for this, even though we helped elevate you into these offices.
Right.
Yeah, no, the
and
communication
we're
stops.
tired of doing it year after year after year, every 4 years. We're tired of doing it because it's almost like, how often do your girlfriend have to cheat before you break up with her? You know, you're not going to just keep, she's going to cheat. You're not going to, eventually you're going to say, look here, I love you, but peace, you got to go. The point I'm making, that's what we're saying. You know,
I don't know if you know how lucky I am to have a girlfriend.
But, that's kind of what we're saying. All we're saying is that we got some questions. Don't talk around us. Talk to us. Don't talk around us by bringing a rap star. That won't work for me anyway because I'm an Earth, Wind, and Fire kind of guy. I'm old school. But,
love it.
And even as much as I love Philip Bailey and all of them, you can't jump around on stage and sing September and think I'm going to vote for you just because I'm going to enjoy your song, but that don't mean I'm going to vote for you. So don't play us that way. Sit down and talk to us like men. And say, look, I hear you. I hear that you have an issue with the guns. I hear you have an issue with this, prison reform, all of this stuff, education, whatever. Here's what I think I can attack for you in my first, everybody has that first 180 days. Here's what I think I can attack. I may not can come back with the answer and have it fixed, but what I will give you is my word that I will attack these issues. And that's not what we've been getting. And so, we're just not gonna jump, anymore like that. All we got is some questions, come on the show and talk to us.
What I've learned from this is that Kamala still has an opportunity to at least communicate with the black male population.
Oh, for sure.
I got to do for a second, guys.
Oh, you're good. So there's still that opportunity to communicate with the black male population in that then at least you're showing attention. But because and that's one thing Donald Trump does do is he, even though he's complete, a lot of what he says are lies over and over and over.
Yeah.
But he, at least in some of the things that he has said, and I'm not saying I'm supporting Trump at this point, but at least what he has said is he acknowledges that the black population exists. Yeah. And he did it through the course of his presidency. I mean, over and over, he constantly acknowledged the black population. Now, I don't remember that he went as far as to say the black males or the black females, but he at least even last night or yesterday when he was being completely dismantled in front of an entire room of black journalists from across the country in Chicago yesterday, he still kept saying the same thing. I have done more for the black population than any other president in history. And while that may not necessarily be true, I have not seen the evidence to support that, but of course it's not something that I would have felt. He does continue to at least acknowledge that the black population exists and and whether he's pandering or not, he is at least he's saying the words. I think Kamala. Yeah, I think Kamala's got an opportunity, but
she does. It can't just be. It just can't be pep rallies all the time. Like this week, like it's just like you have to. And I think it's not that because I talk to my friends about this all the time. So we're not stupid by no means. I would say some of my friends can be ignorant to certain things at sometimes, and that's no fault on them. They just don't have an interest in learning about certain things. But I feel like there is a big segment in our population, the black population, where we do actually look into certain things. And I feel like for like to your point, pep rallies and rap songs, rap stars, they're not. We've had that. You know what I'm saying? That we've had that before. It's happened. You use people as puppets or as mechanisms to entice us. But at a certain point now, it's like, okay, we need substance now. We need to figure out, like, you need to front and center, like you said, take an opportunity and actually say, hey, listen, this is what. Don't just flip it on, oh, well, he's racist or he doesn't want to participate in the debate. Like, focus on what you can do for me or us or the country. Like, just because I feel like the movement and the traction, she's just building off of, oh, well, this is being done, this is being given to me. I just have to appeal to the masses. And that's not the case. That's not the case for every segment. And I feel like there's certain people, I don't want to call them out because I really respect them that be on the CNN panels. So I'm not gonna say anything. But I feel like for the most part, there's certain people that were just
Bakari, isn't it? It's Bakari. I see your face.
I love Bakari though. I love Bakari. I feel like and there was another woman. She's not from South Carolina, but there's another woman that's usually on the panels with Bakari a lot, or if not, she has her own platform that's affiliated with CNN. But what I didn't necessarily disagree, but when they were saying, once Biden thought, okay, hey, listen, he's probably not going to run. The first person he needs to endorse is Kamala. It needs to be Kamala. She's a black woman. We've been overlooked. I get that. I understand the rhetoric behind why if somebody should be the front and center person. But we also cannot acknowledge, we can't dismiss the fact, like, yeah, we would be missing out on a big population of women voters. They would definitely feel disrespected. But you have to look at everybody from a whole. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's
equally.
Just like, yeah. And I don't get that sense. I don't.
I completely agree. I don't. In my opinion, I have not seen anything from the Kamala Harris campaign to specifically say, they had white dudes on Zoom, they had white women on Zoom, they had black women on Zoom. I've not seen the Zoom invites go out for the black men on Zoom.
No.
Yeah.
And
no.
Yeah. One time I was I'm a minister, so I was preaching a sermon one time, and I said, and people didn't understand it. I said, I don't want to preach I don't want to give you spiritual cocaine. And everybody was looking, and they said they didn't understand. I said, I don't want to get you high and you shouting, you're running all up and down the aisle today on Sunday, and then Monday morning when the enemy attack, you don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. All we're saying is that we're not going to go jumping off cars and flipping because it's a movement, and then you get in the office, and then we don't know what you're going to do. We don't know what you would do in situations, and we're worse off. I really don't believe that's a hard question to say. Hey, sit down and talk to us, ask us what we think, and then let us hear your answer, and then we'll go from there. Because right now we can't go from anywhere because we don't have the answers.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the answer they'll usually give us is they'll jump back to racist Trump, and that's your answer. But you still didn't answer my question.
Tell us why we should want to be a part of it.
Thank you.
That's
perfect.
All right,
perfect. It could be simple.
And I hate to say it, but you do know that all of us gonna get some hate because we're talking like this.
Oh, I know.
Somebody's going to see this and talk about how messed up we are. You see those fools on there, but tell me what we said. Did we say anything about hate?
Exactly.
Do that. Did we put anybody down, Trump or Trump? We did.
Nope.
We just said we had some questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer that for you. The person that that responds to that, talk to me in person. Don't hide behind the internet. Let's have a conversation in person. And I'll challenge you as to what did we say that was hateful. That's a man. Yeah. If a man come to and knock on the door and wants to marry my daughter like they used to do, they don't do that no more. I want to know, what she's getting into. Yeah. Are you crazy? Is your family crazy? I want to know the whole thing. What's so wrong with that? So if we're not mad at that man for having a question, black or white, y'all can't be mad at us because we're just asking questions.
No, I think that's fantastic. Look, I want to. Go ahead.
But no, I was please. You hit the how to say it, nail on the head. Like there's nothing hateful. There's nothing out of spite. I just think there's, like you said, there's questions. I just want to know, because my thing is like, I'm not saying I'm moving to the right, like my like associates I have, but it's just it's an opinion that I have, and it's something that really, and it doesn't necessarily. It's not just Kamala. It's whoever comes after that as well. Like, what can party, no party? Like, how can black people really, black people and people in general, but specifically because I'm black, how can we get? What are you going to do for us? Essentially,
give you the opportunity to express what it is that you need.
Yeah,
like make the black male population part of the conversation, and not just assumptions on involve, town halls. If I'm not saying segregated rallies, but something that is built on the idea that, look, we're trying to appeal to male black men in this country, and let's give them a reason to believe that we're going to be there to support them.
Right. Yeah. And look at us, man. We're two black men here. We're not unapproachable. We talk. And so, I guess I'm going to say this, and this will be the last thing for me, because I really got some stuff I got to jump on. But my question is, why? Why haven't you talked to us?
Right.
Why have you talked to everybody else except us?
Yeah.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. All right.
And I don't have a mic here, but that's what they call mic drop.
Yeah. Look, Brandon McDowell, Brian Mays, Brandon, I love you. I so appreciate the fact that you came on. I don't know if you were nervous about doing it, but
a little bit. I'm not a speaker. I'm not a person that speaks, So yeah.
But genuinely, you are one of my closest friends, and I adore all of the time I get to spend with you. And your opinion to me matters. Otherwise, if your opinion didn't matter, we wouldn't have had this conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful that you had this conversation with me. And Brian, damn, you're good. And I am so impressed by everything that you do and how much you give.
He didn't say he loved me.
I didn't say you didn't give me an opportunity.
He didn't get a great guy. I know him. He's a great guy.
I do. I adore everything you're doing, and the fact that you and your wife do so much for so many people, not just out of a need to do a service, but genuinely because you want to, and it's protecting kids, and it's giving them the strength to protect themselves. And I am in awe of the program and everything, and want to be their support. And I want to have the same conversation maybe in like a month before the election, because I want to see if, when this episode goes out, if there's an opportunity, whether through Cory Booker, or if anyone from his campaign is watching this and they see it, because Cory Booker is one of the most intelligent senators that's up there. And I think that he could have the ear of Kamala Harris's campaign and say, look, this is potentially, it's not necessarily that it's a problem, because it's something that all it takes is communication and just involvement. Right. And that's where we need to be. So Brian, I do love you. I really, really appreciate you coming on. I'm not just saying that. I'm looking you directly in the eyes.
I appreciate that. And I do. And I love you guys for having this conversation, because a lot of people want to just go in the room and hide and argue at the barbershop and this and that. And it's hard. It's hard to have these conversations. But the more we do it, the easier it's going to get. I mean, people, we're not fussing. We didn't fuss. We even laughed tonight. But we're talking about serious issues. People are dying. But we didn't fuss about it. We just said we want to fix some problems. And I just can't see where that's a bad thing, man. So you guys keep up what you're doing. I love this podcast, man. Shout out to it.
Definitely.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I just noticed we got rid of Zac. We're the BBBs.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
You're right.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you. Bill, thank you also for being. I'm looking over here in the corner because that's where you're sitting.
That's where I'm at. Thank y'all very much. Also, just from my perspective, like, this is one of the most productive. Like, I'm just in shock. Like, some of those things y'all talked about, like, I just would have never thought about. It's just incredible. This great job.
Telling you, as the oldest white guy on this podcast, and I have taken it for granted. But my eyes are opened, and I think that even with the candidates that I know here in South Carolina, I'm going to bring this up, and they may say that they think they already know about it, but it's there's such an opportunity.
Do you for real?
So,
no, definitely.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Bill, I don't know how you want to close out this episode, but it's all yours.
I still don't know. I've had weeks.
Dippity doo dah day.
That's all I have to think about. That's all I have to think. I don't know.
All right, we'll see you guys next.
Bill.
That's Bill. All right, we'll do it again next week. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber, or visit my linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland. Available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved.